Well, I'm very happy to show you what it's like when you use Causal Map to code multiple sources, different documents or interviews all at once with our new AI one-click coding. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see everything. Now I'm going to click this big green button here, which says New Project, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but I've clicked here, and in my normal operating system file picker, I'm going to pick some interviews. These are a famous set of anonymized interviews with young people about loneliness in London. So I've uploaded them. In this case, they're text files, but they could be Word files or PDF. I'm going to call them Loneliness Auto. And I'm going to say here that it's interviews with people about loneliness. And I could put here also something about what I want to find out, but it'll do for now. I'm going to decide I'm going to code straight away with AI rather than just uploading them and leaving them for later. I'm choosing Belgium as my AI region, and I'm not bothering with that, so I'm just going to say continue. And the app has uploaded all of the files here, as you can see, and it's now telling me, is this exactly just checking all the settings, which it's decided for me because I've chosen one-click coding. And mission critical, well, it's not really mission critical, but yeah, why not? I'll leave that on. It's not too many texts. If I wanted to save money or was doing a lot of text, I might choose quicker and cheaper. I'm going to code all the sources that I've loaded up, fair enough. I haven't coded any yet, so it doesn't matter whether I skip coded or not. And because it's going to do, so what it's going to do now is it's going to independently code each interview with a set of labels it makes up kind of on the spot. So when it finishes all 7 of them, it's going to have a set of labels which overlap in meaning. So it's going to have to do another set of piece of work to reconcile those labels and make them all compatible. So when it's finished that, it's going to filter and maybe just show me like the top 15 most important ones or something like that. So that's all correct. So I'll go to the bottom and click run. Now, if I didn't really understand all of that, it's also totally fine. But you can see now there's lots of stuff going on. Not only is here it's doing the auto coding as I instructed it to. You can see there's lots of, in this case, it's chosen to code the entire text of each interview all at once because of this setting here, which it's chosen for me. And you can see each of these 7 interviews is being coded in the background. But as I said, there's other things here I could have changed if I had not used one-click coding. But these are all the defaults. And then when it finishes that, we'll see it then it then thinks for a little bit and it says, right, I've got to try and find some kind of common labels because there's a lot of stuff here labels which are really kind of the same thing in a slightly different way. So I'm going to do some recoding when we get to that stage. Right, now comes the exciting part, and you can see the coded text starting to arrive. So here it's overall, we're about halfway through. Some of the interviews are done completely. The map is starting to build up here. And if we look at the links table, as it gradually fills up, so far there's 68 rows, there will be more. And if you want, you can also look here at the responses table, where you can see these are all of my calls to the AI. Some of them have succeeded already, 4 of them are still pending. That's these 4. Go back to the map and see it's building up even more. But essentially what it's doing here is each of these areas is probably more or less one of the interviews all on its own, because like I said, it's got no code book in this case, so it's going to make up the labels as it goes along. It's done a good job, by the looks of it, of telling a coherent story for one interview, and for another interview here and probably here, but it's not succeeding. Well, it's not intending at this moment to find overlapping common labels. So that's what's going to happen in a minute. When it finishes all of them, it's then going to say, right, now I want to revise those labels into kind of a common set. And there's different ways of doing that. There's at least 3. And the way that it's going to do here is it's going to basically simply, it's a very simple way. It'll just take the labels, maybe 100 or 200 labels, and it's going to essentially ask itself, like, how can I group these labels into similar groups? And then give those groups themselves those common labels, and then recode everything according to that new common set of labels. which is certainly one way to do it. There's other ways to do it. We have a thing called magnetic recoding, which does the same thing very quickly. And it's possible, of course, simply to recode everything again to say, right, from scratch, say, now I've got this set of, let's say, 30 or 40 common labels. So I'm going to recode everything from scratch all over again, but using a code book, using those 10 or 30 or 40 labels as a deliberate code book, which is probably the most accurate way to do it. So you see there's just one interview left. To finish, if we look over at the responses table down here, we'll see that just about everything is finished. There's one left to go. So that's good. You can see the number of links now. There's 200 links, some of them very similar. And we can see the list of factors as well. There's now 194 different factors. Loneliness obviously appears a lot of times, and feeling loneliness, feeling lonely, empty. These are things we might later want to consolidate into a single factor label. Now you notice that here it coded each interview all at once, but it's also possible, especially if the interviews are long or the text are long, to set this chunk size here to a smaller size so that it takes smaller pieces. And the smaller the pieces you take, the more detailed it is, but the more you'll need to recode it later on because it's going to produce a whole load of different labels because the different sections, so to speak, don't know about one another. So if you weren't using the one-click coding, you don't have to use it. One-click coding button is right up here at the top. You didn't have to do that. You could just have clicked the individual pieces and done it step by step. So we could have done, rather than clicking the one-click coding, we could have just clicked AutoCode and then Revise Codebook. But you see it's automatically itself gone on to the Revise Codebook phase. So it's saying I've got 272 factors. That's nonsense. Obviously, some of these overlap in meaning. So I'm going to try to find a common set of labels which might cover them all. And it's going to come up with however many we set in this case. As a default number, depending on the number of labels. It's going to find this set of common labels, and then it's going to do yet another piece of work where it takes these common labels and then recodes each of the original raw labels into the common ones. These are the labels it's come up with, commons bet, and the final piece of work it's doing now, it's doing that all on its own. I'm not touching anything there. It's going through this third or fourth piece of work, and it's now finished that, I think, and it's recoded. Finally, so see that took quite a few minutes, about 8 minutes, I think, to record just like 9 interviews, reasonably long ones. I think there's about 8 pages or something in each one. But that can vary considerably. Sometimes you find you've done 100 in like 20 minutes, and sometimes it can take quite a lot longer. Anyway, so as it finishes, it then puts on a filter to show you the most frequent factors and links. You don't have to use that filter. You can also switch that off if you want to. You see there's a lot more, there's a few more factors left there and a lot of links between them, so it's not very enlightening. It's best to look at the most important and frequent things, and you can see now that instead of 200, I think it was, factors, we've now got 14, and even when we don't put the filter on, we've only got 40, and it's the same number of links because we've not done anything to the actual links themselves. We just recoded the causes and the effects. What I also wanted to show you was it's created a label set. So it's got the default label set, the one that we've recoded into, but it's also saved for you the not recoded set. So if you decide you don't like this recoding, then you can switch back to the links as they were before recoding to do something else with them, to recode them differently if you like. We'll leave it for now on that default set. Put this back and we'll see, yes, that's quite a reasonable, it's only a few interviews, but it's still quite a reasonable summary of the topic, I think, with feeling lonely or empty being obviously in the center, because that's what the interviews are about. With sadness and feeling inadequate as some of the consequences of that, which feed into one another, and being misunderstood and distractions as being influencing it, with a feedback loop between feeling lonely and distractions and coping mechanisms. You can see here that some of the links are not all completely negative. Some of them are slightly blue, some of them are completely blue. So there's a different section here more about positive outcomes and behaviors, which can lead to feeling happy sometimes or at peace instead. And it's just a start. You can get into the story. You can click on the links. You can look at the individual quotes, investigate those, and filter it in different ways and focus on different factors and see the network around each factor and so forth. But so that's the result of us having completed a badly spelt input. So what we did is we input 9 or 10 interviews, which were text files, it could have been Word documents, into the app. it said we want to immediately code them with all the default settings. It coded each one separately, and then it chose to take a separate step where it then recoded all of those label sets into one common set, and then recoded all of those interviews with that common set of labels, and resulting in what you see here. So when we did all of this, we went through a lot of different steps automatically. But if you were to get into this in more detail, then you'll look into how you can do each of these steps manually one by one, and you can look into all the different tweaking you can do to get the result that you want.